welcome to another episode of Codo Cinema, the podcast show where I talk about movies. I'm your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Codo, aka Codo Man. When it comes to a popular film, that film can spawn a franchise. Well, you can say, what if the film wasn't good enough to begin with, and they cancel a possible franchise? Sure, there's probably a lot of films that went through that curb, or how about a film that is so successful a franchise is born? But what about a film that is so popular that started a franchise and continued the franchise 30 years by bringing you back to the original film, but in a new light with old characters and new characters? What popular film franchise am I talking about? Well, if you guys guessed Star Wars, well, you are definitely close. Well, the popular film franchise that I want to talk about is the Karate Kid franchise. Yep, if you guys thought Star Wars, that was a good guess. But to me, the Karate Kid franchise has become a huge success since the 1980s, from the movies plus an animated show and a 2010 reboot, plus the TV sequel Cobra Kai, which is bringing the franchise in a whole new direction. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Well, technically, I would have been talking about the entire Karate Kid films. True, but also there's sometimes even a TV show can help move that franchise forward, right? Oh yeah, trust me and believe me, I have seen Cobra Kai many times. I've seen all 3 seasons, and I was blown away by it. Such an awesome show. So anyway, let me go back in time to the past. We're in the 1980s, probably one of the most memorable decades of all time, I believe so. So anyway, the Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid, which came out in 1984, was directed by Rocky director John G. Avildsen, if I'm saying it correctly, and it also stars Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita. The 1984 film follows a teenage boy named Daniel LaRusso, which is played by Ralph Macchio, who just moved from New York to Reseda, Los Angeles, California with his mother. While there, Daniel meets up with a handyman named Mr. Miyagi, played by Pat Morita, who also has the skills to do karate. Mr. Miyagi teaches Daniel karate to help defend himself against the bullies. Surprisingly, the bullies are in a karate team called Cobra Kai, led by Johnny Lawrence, being played by William Zabka, and their sensei, John Kreese, played by Martin Kove. A known fun fact, Johnny Lawrence in the film is technically the bully in the original Karate Kid film, along with his fellow Cobra Kai members, Dutch, Robbie, Tommy, and Jimmy. Both Johnny and Daniel duke it out throughout the film. Thankfully, Mr. Miyagi made a deal with Sensei John Kreese to train alone until the All Valley tournament. And yes, you're probably guessing, well, after a little Halloween fight that was going on behind Daniel LaRusso's place. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you all remember that scene. And throughout the film, Daniel is training, developing a love relationship with Allie, played by Elizabeth Shue. Yes, her name was Elizabeth Shue. I know some people were saying got the name. I know a lot of people are calling me out for getting the name wrong in my Back to the Future films. But anyway, Daniel does develop a relationship with Allie. Fun fact, Allie was the ex-girlfriend to Johnny Lawrence in the film. So and also throughout, Daniel also bonds a friendship with Mr. Miyagi. Pretty good friendship right there. By the time the tournament begins, Daniel was able to fight the members of Cobra Kai one by one until the remaining opponent, Johnny Lawrence, stands tall until Daniel makes the finishing crane kick. The film was such a hit, it was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actor for Pat Morita, and spawned 3 sequels. Plus, the film kick-started Ralph Macchio's career as an actor, to which he was coming off the heels of Francis Ford Coppola's The Outsiders. An underrated coming-of-age film, but still a good one. And the same can be said with the 1984 Karate Kid film, a brilliant coming-of-age teenage film. Many people actually called the original Karate Kid, the 1984 original, how should I say this? I'm gonna have to guess a I'm gonna have to guess a sleeper hit. Many people call it out as a sleeper hit, but hey, it's still a memorable film. It's a memorable film, and it's a memorable film. I mean, sometimes the first installment can be the most memorable. Well, if you think think the film was over, not really. Well, actually, the film is over, but the sequel lives on. Yep, that's right. There is a second Karate Kid film. The Karate Kid Part 2 came out in 1986, picking up where the first film left off at the All Valley Tournament, with Daniel and Mr. Miyagi walking out of the tournament while witnessing John Kreese and Johnny Lawrence about being second place, which drives John mad because he believed that Johnny is a loser for losing to Daniel. Because he believes that Cobra Kai should be number one. Cobra Kai should be number one in the tournament, not Daniel. Yep. I mean, to be fair, it's a tough competition. I mean, a lot of sporting events is basically competition, and it can be tough to overcome. But thankfully, Mr. Miyagi was able to honk his way through the mess and take out Kreese with the classic honk. 6 months later, Mr. Miyagi receives a letter about his father and plans to return to his home village on Okinawa Island. With Daniel in town, Mr. Miyagi's past catches up with him as an old rivalry with a former friend is reignited. Plus, we also got to meet new characters such as Kumiko, played by Tamlin Tomita, and Chosen, played by Yuji Okumoto. I find the sequel itself is okay at best. I mean, it's not as good as the original. I mean, I'm just saying to be fair. But we did get to see new characters and new elements. Heck, new locations. I mean, that is definitely fresh and new for a sequel. I definitely will say that. I mean, is it good as the original? Not really, but it's still a decent follow-up. Many people pointed out the problems of the film, particularly the villains and the action sequences. I mean, I didn't mind the film. I mean, to be fair, I did get through parts of the film. I mean, I was able to watch the majority of the films, if that helps. I mean, the final fight between Daniel and Chosen was actually pretty cool. I mean, I thought it was a fresh sequel with new ideas, despite the execution being a bit flawed. Although I should definitely say A for effort, though. The Karate Kid Part 3 is where things began to go downhill. I mean, some of you guys are probably saying, well, Mark Codo man, didn't Karate Kid Part 2 begin that trend? Sort of, but not really. But I feel like Karate Kid Part 3 was where it started to go downhill. 6 months after the 1984 All Valley Tournament, by the way, Part 3 came out in 1989, and this is still taking place after the events of the first Karate Kid film, by the way. So, after the All Valley Karate Tournament, a down-and-out John Kreese visits his Vietnam War buddy and rich businessman Terry Silver. Silver sends Kreese on vacation to Tahiti, promising to reestablish the Cobra Kai dojo and get revenge on Daniel and Mr. Miyagi. Whoa, looks like we got a revenge story, folks. Meanwhile, Daniel and Mr. Miyagi have returned home from Okinawa, which is taking place after the sequel, to find Daniel's apartment building being demolished and his mother back in New Jersey, taking care of a sick relative. Mr. Miyagi invites Daniel to stay with him. When Miyagi refuses to train Daniel to defend his title at the tournament, Daniel happens across Silver, who offers to train him Cobra Kai style. Okay, folks, this is where Daniel started to do some training style from Cobra Kai. And what he doesn't know that Terry Silver works for Kreese. Now, that's the part that Daniel doesn't know, to which I believe he doesn't know. And I'll be honest here, I've only got through bits and pieces of the third film until the All Valley Tournament at the end. And to be all in honesty, the third film wasn't well received due to the elements found in the first two movies. The narrative, including the romance side story. So that's where it all went downhill. However, many people praised the action sequences and Thomas Ian Griffith's performance as Terry Silver, one of the founding members of Cobra Kai, and as I mentioned, one of Kreese's Vietnam War buddies. So yeah, if you thought the Karate Kid Part 3 was the last film, not real. Well, you guessed wrong, because there was a fourth film called The Next Karate Kid. And The Next Karate Kid was the last film in the Karate Kid film franchise, and for some reason, Ralph Macchio wasn't involved with the film. The only actor for the original Karate Kid was Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi. In the fourth film, Mr. Miyagi was attending a commemorative service in Boston, Massachusetts for the Japanese American soldiers who fought in the 442nd Infantry Regiment in World War II. Mr. Miyagi reacquaints with Louisa Pierce, the widow of his commanding officer. Louisa introduces him to her rebellious teenage daughter named Julie, played by Hilary Swank, who has anger issues resulting from her parents' deaths, makes life difficult for Louisa. Offering to help, Mr. Miyagi sends Louisa to his home in Los Angeles for respite. And while he works there he helps, he becomes the mentor to Julie. Now, Julie, on the other hand, didn't like the idea of Mr. Miyagi's help, but somehow she comes to it. But warms up to herself to him after coming into conflict with she came into conflict with the leader of school shady security fraternity. Really? There's an actual high school security fraternity? I thought the fourth film takes place at a high school setting, not a college setting. Isn't a fraternity part of a college setting? I could be wrong. And by the way, the leader of the school's shady security fraternity is led by Ned. Now, okay, folks. I will admit, I think Hilary Swank's performance was definitely good. Was good in the fourth installment, but it wasn't enough for the fourth installment to be as good as many people would thought. Because many people found the fourth installment as an unnecessary sequel and as I mentioned, many people praised Hilary Swank's performance, including Pat Morita's performance as Mr. Miyagi. Plus, it wasn't all bad. The Next Karate Kid helped kickstart Hilary Swank's career as an actor. So there's definitely something. Hey, if the critics praised her performance, that is definitely something. After the failed success of The Next Karate Kid, there wasn't another Karate Kid film until 2010. By the way, did I mention that the Karate Kid also had an animated TV show? That was definitely something. As I mentioned, there is a reboot that came out in 2010, but this time it starred Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, taking place in China but replacing karate with kung fu, which begs the question, why wasn't the Karate Kid reboot in 2010 called The Kung Fu Kid? It's kung fu. Isn't it kung fu in this reboot? I know it's like karate, but I think it's a little different. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have different opinions on this. But overall, I thought the film reboot was actually a decent reboot with more depth. And I actually liked some of the action, and I actually liked the action, the fight sequences in the reboot. I thought they were actually pretty cool. Especially when Jackie Chan is in this movie. Dre Parker. Now, in the reboot, Dre Parker and his mother moved from Detroit to Beijing, China, after she transfers jobs, and Jaden Smith's character Dre Parker befriends Mei Ying, a young musician who goes to his school, but draws the attention of Chang. Looks like we got a little. Looks like it's similar to the 1984 original, folks. And Chang is a kung fu prodigy whose family is pretty close to Mei Ying's family. And somehow Chang and his friends bully Dre at school to keep him away from Mei Ying. Kind of similar to how Johnny tries to keep Danielle away from Allie. And then somehow this results in a fight on a school field trip where Dre gets beaten up before being saved by by Mr. Han. Mr. Han is Mr. Han, to which Jackie Chan plays in this movie. And after failing to end the bullying by talking with Chang's ruthless kung fu teacher, Mr. Han agrees to train Dre to compete at the upcoming kung fu tournament. And yes, we did get we get the tournament, which, to be fair, I will say this: that kung fu tournament was probably one of the greatest fight sequences that I have ever seen in any reboot. I mean, these reboots do have flaws, but there is always a moment in there that can actually be awesome. Almost a decade later, after the Karate Kid reboot, the Karate Kid franchise was at an end. But it wasn't until 2018 where the TV series Cobra Kai came to life. And as I mentioned earlier, Cobra Kai literally blew me away. And I loved Cobra Kai. All 3 seasons, awesome. Does it have flaws? Of course it does. But my goodness, that show is awesome. Just to give a background, Cobra Kai helped revisit the Karate Kid franchise, and the series was created by Josh Heald, John Hurwitz, and Hayden Schlossberg, and it stars Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, who reprised their roles as Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence from the 1984 Karate Kid film. Set 34 years later, Cobra Kai re-examines the quote-unquote Miyagi-verse, which is actually the name of the Karate Kid franchise, Miyagi-verse, but for the most part, I still refer to it as the Karate Kid franchise because of the 4 films plus the reboots. I mean, now this time it's coming from Johnny's point of view, because in Cobra Kai, Johnny was one of the members of Cobra Kai, or students, I should say. Now this follows Johnny's point of view because he comes out as, how do I say this? He comes out as a loser in the pilot episode, but he later tries to redeem himself by reopening Cobra Kai, while rekindling his old rivalry with Daniel LaRusso. And boy, the rivalry is on between Johnny and Daniel. Now, not only do we see both Johnny and Daniel, we also get to see new characters and stars such as Courtney Hangler as Amanda LaRusso, Zola Maradona as Miguel Diaz, Tanner Buchanan as Robbie Keane, Mary Mauser as Samantha LaRusso, Jacob Bertrand as Eli Moskowitz, aka Hawk, and Gianni DiCenzo as Dimitri, including the return of Martin Kove as John Kreese. Now, hands down, seeing Kreese again was probably a surprise to many people, because sources claim that Kreese wasn't really going to return, but after some initial thoughts, somehow the writers had a change of heart and decided to add Kreese in for the season finale of season 1. By the way, spoiler alert, my apologies for not saying spoilers. Also, my apologies for mispronouncing the names. My apologies on that. But anyway, that is a big surprise right there. Also, Will Smith, who produced the 2010 Karate Kid remake, served as executive producer of Cobra Kai. Although the 2010 reboot has never been mentioned in Cobra Kai, but there has been a passing mention of Jackie Chan in one of the episodes of season 1 of Cobra Kai. So there's a little mention, but for the most part, there's really no connection between the remake of some sorts. But you never know. So far, there has been 3 seasons, with a 4th season on the way. The show was originally aired on YouTube Premium before transitioning to Netflix, where the series gained, and believe it or not, 73 million views on Netflix within the 3 seasons. Now, what makes Cobra Kai so well is that it was able to revisit the original Karate Kid film franchise while bringing back old characters, introducing new characters, and keeping the franchise fresh with new ideas and recurring ideas. Now, I'm just going to say this is coming from me. This is just me, and if anybody disagrees with me, that's fine. That is totally fine because I believe Cobra Kai is a TV show that does the Karate Kid film franchise justice. Why did I say that? Because if you think about it, you're bringing in new ideas, combining it with old ideas. It's like how if you thought if Star Wars was going to go in a new direction by bringing back old characters with new characters, but the way of how you gotta do that, you gotta execute it well and keep it balanced without derailing the story. Or because here's the thing, you gotta keep the story fresh, keep the story going without losing focus. Somehow in Cobra Kai, they were able to balance that out. Because particularly in season 3, we got to see some of the characters from Karate Kid Part 2. I mean, which is a surprise. I mean, surprisingly, that was actually a huge surprise that Danielle went back to Okinawa in season 3, and the characters we got to see in season 3, one of the original characters was Kamiko and Chosen, plus Ali. Ali returned in season 3, which was a big surprise. We also got to see in season 2. We also got to see Johnny's fellow Cobra Kai members, which includes hang on. I know I have it somewhere. Sometimes I forget. Oh, we got to see Tommy, Jimmy, and Bobby. We got to see the original Cobra Kai members in season 2. Even though Dutch was left out of the second season. This is something that really comes to heart, especially the mention of Mr. Miyagi. We get to see archive footage. We even get to see we get to feel some form of presence with Mr. Miyagi in Cobra Kai. Plus, it's the connections that literally goes well. Even the fan theories. And this is something that I believe the writers and directors of Cobra Kai was able to take to heart for the Karate Kid franchise. You're continuing the franchise while also bringing in new ideas, but you are definitely bringing in something that appeals to the fans of the original Karate Kid. This is something that takes to heart. I mean, don't forget, John G. Avildsen was the director of the first 3 Karate Kid films. He directed the first Rocky film, and that kick-started the Rocky films. I mean, don't get me wrong. Both Karate Kid and Rocky had his fair share of flaws in their sequels, but they were able to rebuild that by bringing in new ideas, bringing back old characters and introducing to new characters without losing focus of the story. And they were able to appeal to fans and critics alike, especially audiences, without losing focus. I mean, true, there's still some flaws, but maybe that's what made it good. That's what made both Karate Kid and Rocky pretty good. And especially when it comes to a different character's point of view. Like, the Karate Kid focuses a lot on Daniel's side. Cobra Kai focuses on Johnny's side. And they both are connected. They both stay connected while appealing to the fans, critics, and audiences, especially when bringing back old characters while introducing new characters. The Rocky franchise did the same thing too. I mean, we got to see Rocky's side of the story, and heck, the 2 Creed films were able to show Creed's side of the story, which I believe was definitely a great thing that they did. And I believe, as for the Karate Kid, they did that thing, but by telling Johnny's side of the story. Especially, I love the fan theories of saying that Danielle was a bully, even though I didn't buy that at first, but at the same time, it was kind of hilarious, especially in season 3 when one of the family members made a shout out on that, to saying that Danielle was the real bully. to be fair, I got a huge laugh out of that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people did. Now, 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 is the Karate Kid franchise still good? Oh, of course. I mean, thanks to Cobra Kai, we got to revisit the Karate Kid franchise once more. I mean, yeah, I mean, we got season 4 on the way, but somehow there's still more to see. And I am hoping that the Karate Kid franchise continues to appeal to both fans, audiences, and critics while keeping the story fresh, new and original. Now, even if there are flaws, just remember this is definitely something that drew me in, and I'm really happy I was able to see Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid films. So, what do you guys think? Was there anything that I missed out from the Karate Kid franchise? Please let me know. Thank you for tuning in to Codo Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codo Man. Remember to watch movies and stay positive.